Hey there, this is Alistair for Clocked, and we're going to be doing a bit of a strategy guide for the new game, Returnal. So, this is the first biome, and this is the first area that we're seeing. As you can see, there's a house right there, which is an important area for the narrative of the game. However, because it's the whole level of all of the levels in Returnal are randomized, when you see this will be different for every single playthrough that you do. Always check if something's changed in that house area, because sometimes it does, and not always when it sort of makes sense. Okay, so here's our first enemy. These guys are pretty simple. They shoot these blue lines, and you want to jump over them. Those are obolettes or ooblets, depending on how you want to call them. They're your currency. They're really important to collect, and they disappear really fast. So if you miss them, you won't have money to purchase valuable upgrades and things, which we will get to later. For this reason, it kind of makes sense often to try and be as close as possible to them when you kill them. This is easier said than done, though. This is a playthrough that I did yesterday, so I don't remember exactly what order things happen, so we're going to be a little bit off the cuff. It's really important to get comfortable with Biome 1, though, because even as you progress further into the game, you'll have to return here after you die every single time. It's also a really important level to... Okay, first of all, actually, that was resin that we just collected. It's the stuff that you can upgrade your health from. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But you'll notice that when I picked that up, it filled out a little green square next to my life on the far left part of the screen. We want to fill that up to sort of achieve an upgrade. Oh, what have we done there? Okay. Fall in the lava, it's not good. Those walls can be destroyed with your melee weapon. Until you get the melee weapon, you won't be able to enter them. You get the melee weapon in the first area, but you'll have to probably play for an hour or two before you come across it. Dashing is really fun in this game, but can be... Okay, here, so, whenever you see a gate like that was just there, it means that there is there's a button somewhere that you need to shoot. It'll change where it is for each one, but rest assured, there will be a button somewhere. It's really important to gather gear in Biome 1 to essentially get ready for a successful run. So try and open everything that you can. So we've just entered into, if you look at the minimap, we just entered into a room which had a blue triangle door. Those are sort of side quest doors, and there's normally a focus on gear rather than fighting enemies. So if you're trying to level up your character and find interesting upgrades, it's really important to explore them. We just picked up something that's malignant, so anything that's purple means that it has the chance to hurt you. It's kind of like a debuff, and each debuff has a different set of conditions to get rid of it. So as you see there in the top left hand of the screen, it says map is scrambled. Collect obolites, 200 of them, to get rid of it. Sometimes these malfunctions are really easy to get rid of, sometimes they're a little bit harder. And the penalty really depends on, well, they vary in their severity. The map one is one of my least favorites, especially if you're trying to just use this biome to level up. It becomes really frustrating, as I think you're going to see me wandering around a bit like, where do I go?
At
red thing over there was a weapon, but I must have decided that it was no good. We'll touch more on weapon selection as we get a little bit further into the run. Alright, what's this? So, can't see it on the map very well, but each area has a containment room, which is marked as a gold door by the minimap, and it has a bug that you've got to shoot off to gain entry. I would not recommend going into the containment room early on a run. There, you can get yourself, even that was a simple simple sort of puzzle, but you can still get yourself into trouble. These little golden things are collections of ooblites, which are, as I said before, really important to collect. Ooh, okay. These golden enemies are not very aggressive, and you want to kill as many of them as you can because they drop goodies. Normally quite a lot of oblites, but also sometimes some items. Yeah, some consumables. At the moment, you can see that I can carry 2 items, but when you start off, you'll only be able to carry 1. This will eventually be upgraded to 3. Okay, so there's some different weapons. Looks like I've decided that I like what I've got going on already. Okay, we've got a few... Do we have some different enemies yet? They're shooting red, which seems a little bit faster. I'm relying quite a lot on melee attacks, as you can see with these guys, because, well, the melee attack, particularly early on in the game, is quite, I don't want to say overpowered, because you really need it, but it's powerful. If you get close to things and attack, you're going to one-hit most enemies. This is, if you compare it to what's going on with my pistol, it's very useful. You also saw me just use my alternate fire there. You collect different alternate fires depending on each weapon. Some of them are a lot more effective for certain jobs than others. The one that I've got right now is pretty unremarkable. Looks like it's kind of like a lobbed grenade. One that I really like is the, oh, here, a parasite. Parasites are like an item that you get, but they've got a distinct positive and negative effect, each one. I think that one had said something about reducing my cooldowns, probably for my secondary attack, which is powerful. Normally, I've found that the parasites are worthwhile taking. There might be circumstances where you decide that it's just not right for your current play style, and that's totally okay. But the bonuses are really important. In fact, there's one which you get, and it sort of auto heals you to about 30 or 40% of your life if you don't take damage for a little while. And that is really useful because you can get yourself into sticky situations where you don't have much life and you've used up all of the life in the area, in the biome. And so that auto heal is super important. What do we have here? It's a little fabricator type shop where you can make a choice to buy it. And these are alien glyphs. Always keep an eye out for... They come up as like little green things on the map. We still can't see properly on the map yet. But they're just little bits of narrative exposition. And as you collect more glyphs, you're better at translating them. Where am I doing now? These little blue spheres they transport you to a specific area. The ones which don't have blue spheres on them, they will transport you to any other translocators of their kind. So they're essentially fast travel points, whereas the ones with the sphere on them are set travel points. Okay, we've got these little flying ones. These have a really powerful attack that if they aim at you for long enough, they'll unleash, and it's sort of like what they're doing now. That, if they get you, really hurts. So what you want to do is you want to kind of play peekaboo with them, dodging around corners. It also works if you shoot them once, they'll stop their ray. So by alternating targets, you can kind of manage them if there's quite a lot of them. There's two ways, yeah. Run away a lot and break their vision, that helps, and then also alternating through them to make sure they can't unleash their major attack. So when you see an area like that where it's a little gold dot, you can walk onto it and it will take you into a secret area. Each secret area is full of different things. This one was full of a lot of currency. So that's a good one. Some of them are full of puzzles, so it might require jumping. And other ones will be... A lot of them are seemingly filled with purple flowery type things, which hold often parasites and malignant items. One thing you'll learn playing this game is everything's a bit of a gamble. There's very few things that you'll pick up or actions that you'll do which are just outright good. You'll always be making a calculated risk. Now, what you just saw me there... Ooh, that's nasty. What you just saw me there doing was... There was a turret which was covered in red. If any enemy is covered in red, it's a special kind of alien technology which can only be gotten rid of by, to my knowledge at least, it's a melee attack. That's why I charged it and smacked it with my sword. The sword that we have is alien technology, and it's effective at getting rid of that barrier. Those chunks that I keep hitting there, just collections, big deposits of the ooblites. Oblites? I don't know, guys. It's a really cool world, I think. So I didn't do this, but you'll notice that in the item that I have right over there, bottom left-hand corner, is actually an item which disables turrets. So if I was not panicking as much, I would have thought it rather prudent and wise to activate that for this area. Using your consumable items is something that you'll often struggle to do, I think. Because you've got so many bullets flying you at all times, the last thing you're often thinking of is what items you have that could help you. But I would encourage you to try your best to use them, because they do help, and they help you succeed in a battle more easily than you otherwise would. Where that becomes really important is if you manage to get through an area without taking damage, there's a big bonus. Because the scarcity of healing items, but also resin. I think I'll touch on that a little bit late in the next few minutes, I think. But so we'll wait for that part of the video. What am I doing here? Well, I've taken quite a bit of damage, as you can see. I might be thinking about... I'm seeing if I can figure out where that green item is on my mini-map. You'll find sometimes things come up on your mini-map, and the path there isn't obvious. You might have to find a way of getting higher up. So I just almost killed myself by using a key. One of my parasites that I have, I believe, makes it so that every key that I use hurts me. Once again, it's a calculated risk. There might have been nothing in that chest that was worthwhile. It could have been a weapon that was worse than the one I had. So I'm looking at my map now. I'm probably trying to think I need to go... And I've lucked out. I gambled rather than retreating backwards, trying to find life or something. I've gambled and I've gone forwards. And what have I come across? I've come across a transporter. So this is an important part of the game. At least it's an important part of Biome 1. when you get too hurt, or even when you take any damage, what you might want to do is think about returning to your ship. Because when you return to your ship, you can rest. There's a rest function. That's obviously good in and of itself, but it's even more important because, so I'll speak about resin a little bit now. When you're going through the game world and you've got full life, all of the health items that appear will act as resin. And resin is an upgrade material. So if you get 2 or 3 of them, depending on what upgrades you have, it'll give you a little bit longer of a life bar. If you're going through the world and you've taken some damage, all the health that appears will be, or almost all the health that appears, will be life packs. So it'll just fill up what you've already got. This is really important for putting together a strong run. If you manage in the first area to get a long life bar and some good upgrades, you put yourself in a situation to succeed in later biomes where the enemies are harder, and I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but you also you won't be able to return to the ship. You'll also notice that I've gone and healed myself 2 times in a row. I don't know why the game makers have decided on this, but healing doesn't just fill up your whole life bar. It only fills up a set amount. It's a bit of an odd decision from a design standpoint because you can just repeat it. So it just kind of creates a bit of frustration, I find. It slows down your process. So now that we're full, and you can see down at my bottom life bar, you can see there's a little second life bar. Not very big, because I haven't been focusing too much on getting resin. If you're being really strategic, every time you come across new life and you've taken a hit, you can return to the ship, heal, and then return to where you found that life bar, and it will function as resin for you. You can see how you could, if you're being really careful, do this over and over again and really get quite a lot of life. Now this is a fabricator. It's alien technology where you can pick between various items that are there, spending your currency. It's like a shop. So I'm checking out what I think is good. This is randomized, so you might get some really good items on a playthrough or a run, or you might get some pretty mediocre stuff. What have I decided on? I didn't capture that exactly. You'll notice that there was a life vial there. Those are really useful. It's not a bad decision to not take them early on, but save buying it till you're ready to do a boss. Which, while I'm at it, each biome has its own boss. Not only harder enemies, but there will be a boss. And where, perfect timing, on my mini-map, if you look, you can see that there is a red door. These guys are horrible. They sort of have this like charge attack. They fly at you, and if they get too close, they do this thing that's really hard to dodge. Let's see if we can. I'm sure one of them. There we go. Oh wait, no, I just managed to hit him with some melee. These ones you often have to jump to hit with your melee attack. It's still a fun, good way. These guys are sticky baddies. They can stick you to the ground, but I find they're really weak. You stagger them if you manage to just dash towards them, whack them with your sword, and then they're sitting ducks. Might be a bit of a high risk, high reward situation, but I think that's my favorite way of dealing with a lot of the bigger, badder enemies actually in this game. Stun them. The little ones pick off more from afar. Okay, so what we just saw there is a Warren calibrator. Calibrators increase your weapon proficiency. That's the bar that's underneath your life in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You can see I'm at 1 right now. So you can increase your proficiency by using your weapon. And you can also increase your proficiency by picking up certain items, those calibrators. What I just did there is interesting. I used the tentacles to gain access to a higher part of the level. This is important to know that you can do, because you can open up different parts of the map. If you let the tentacle beast go and pull you up to the top, you'll take damage. They'll take a big chunk out of you. But if you dash out before you get to the top, you can use them as kind of like an obstacle aid. Got another one of those turrets with the shields on it, so you can't hurt it by... You gotta charge it. That's what I've just done there. You can pick up some items, or artifacts rather, which increase the amount of time before the oblights disappear. It's kind of useful. I normally wouldn't spend my own money on it, but if you're struggling to collect them in time because you have a playstyle that's more about picking things off, that can be the difference between collecting quite a lot and not getting any of them at all. So I guess I'm just having a little look around here. I haven't figured out those yet. I think it's an item that I haven't collected yet, where those lights, eventually you'll be able to gain access to them. I'm guessing it's going to be some sort of like a bungee cord type situation. Until then, I'm not sure. So, I did just cleverly use my item which disables turrets. Now I don't even have to worry about them. Doesn't mean that I'll completely succeed in this battle. Oh, see, still not... What would we say? Not perfect play. Nonetheless, I'm having a good time getting down with these flying squid-like creatures. It's a pretty good one. Weapon stimulant. Consumable. It's very good for... I'd save that for certain bosses. Well, once again, it's a gamble because it slows down your movement, and some bosses will close that distance really fast. In fact, yeah, it's an important piece of information, I would say, that staying stationary is rarely a good idea in this game. Oh, look there. It's another secret area. Okay, so this area, is pretty recurring, always seems to, for me at least, open up with weapons. This is also a good time to explain how weapon proficiency affects drop rates. So if you have a weapon proficiency of 1, most of the weapons that you come across will be 1, maybe 2, but they won't be much higher than your proficiency. You can still use weapons that you find that have a higher proficiency, and I don't think there's any penalties for it. But it means that, well, it's unlikely that you find them. So, increasing your weapon proficiency is a really important part of finding good guns. You can see there as well, proficiency is not the end-all, be-all and end-all. I've decided at the moment that I want to keep a shotgun. Sometimes what weapons you feel most comfortable with will trump it being a weapon that's a higher proficiency. Each weapon also has different aspects kind of it that are you can't upgrade, but they'll have different features depending on the randomized nature of the weapon. So you might find a weapon that's proficiency 5, but 3 of its upgrade points have been used in, let's say, reload speed. Now, reload speed can be important, but it's probably not as important as damage. So if you see... what am I doing? If you see a weapon that's maybe 4, but 3 of those are in bonus damage, that thing's going to tear through enemies. I would say I would personally go with that. That said, I am learning that certain things that don't sound as good are really important, like fire rate, something that maybe In other games, I would look down on and I'd be like, well, I measure my shots anyway. In this game, fire rate really can help. So I don't know what I'm doing here. Really, I should be rushing those things, trying to get some good items. It is the problem with the shotgun, though. You got to be pretty close for it to do its damage. Managed to kill one of them. Not exactly impressive. I haven't seen one yet, but sometimes those statues that you see littering areas, these horned guys, they're called sentients, or aliens. But if you see one that has a golden set of eyes, yellow eyes, they can be shot and they will drop currency. That's a good little hint to know. Little piece of information. So I'm going to ride that up, and then I've unleashed some life. You've really got to make a tactical decision that if you'd rather just keep carrying on in your run, or if you'd like to go back and heal to try and make yourself as strong as possible. For the purpose of this, I didn't want to be, it wouldn't be a very interesting video if I was just going backwards and forwards with the ship. It's also not really terribly fun to do. So you'll find yourself finding a nice happy medium depending on what you're trying to accomplish. If you have found like a really hard area, maybe in the next biome, then you might find you want to spend a lot of time getting yourself ready in biome 1. I will say though, I did that once or twice, only to have an error ruin my run in biome 2. So there are some bugs going on, and they can be very frustrating if you spent, a few hours grinding, if you will, just to have the PlayStation kick you out and say, try again, even though you didn't die. These are another kind of fabricator. They've only got the one item, and they give you a bonus. Often it'll be like, 20% extra protection. So it's a defense stat. Or 20% extra integrity. They're pretty good. At least in this run, I've decided that I want to take them up on the offer. Okay, where are we going now? So that I think I did explain before, that red door is the corridor that leads towards the boss. For the purpose of this video, we're not going to do the boss. This is more like a strategy guide of Biome 1. Features and hints that are important to understand about the game, and some useful strategies for getting yourself ready for other biomes. You can fight the boss as many times as you like, and there are some benefits to doing it as well. But I think the chances of, success in the next biome don't necessarily go up that much. Oh, look there. There's one of these guys with yellow eyes. Let's see if I notice it. What we've just picked up is a data entry.
With what can only be described as visual echoes of previous deaths. At first I avoided them, but I needed to know.
This is important. So this contraption is a reconstructor. It's very expensive, 6 ether, and you don't get much ether. It's a random item that it's a sort of a secondary currency. This is a reclaimer. This just heals you and gives you more integrity as well. It's a really useful thing to find if you do always use it. But that thing that we saw before, the reconstructor, that is a checkpoint. Now, there aren't many checkpoints in this game, and as you saw, they're expensive. So I've been ambushed. Even the positive items in this game have a chance of backfiring on you. A lot of the time you'll find that certain types of chests will have monsters in them that just surprise you and can do some serious damage. Ooh, we got a big boy. This is not a boss, but he can hurt you. So I've charged him down, and I'm just wailing on him. Get rid of him. If you can do that, you'll have a much easier time with the little enemies. Little enemies can surround you. It's useful to use the mini-map for that, actually. If If you look down on my bottom right-hand side of the screen, you can see where they are, so you can use that to try and not get flanked. And also, but you might sometimes think that you've cleared an area, and you haven't. There's one just lurking around in the back. As you use certain abilities, so like I've been using quite a lot of my melee, and you get better at it. It also increases your adrenaline. If you get hit, that resets your adrenaline. But if you keep killing things at a pretty quick pace, you'll increase your level of adrenaline. That makes you run faster, dash better. I think that probably increases your damage as well. So if keeping your adrenaline run going can be a really important way of succeeding in battle. Easier said than done for some of us, though. So what am I doing here? Looks like so. This run's so far gone for about 30 minutes. And as you can see, I've upgraded my life a bit. I've got a few items which are, you know, pretty useful. I would have more if I had been being more cautious, but I think for the purpose of this video, we're better off just plowing ahead. So as you see there, it's a pistol that's got a higher proficiency. Have I? Yeah, and I just decided to take it, even though it was just the fire rate that was upgraded. I guess we'll see how fast that thing fires now, because you saw at the beginning I was using a pistol. Those nasty spewers. I find it best to just, yeah, not get stuck in their stuff. He's taking damage quickly. Pretty squishy enemies. They're more of an annoyance, I think. If they get you stuck in their stuff while other creatures are around, then you can be in trouble from them. But otherwise, just dash towards them, whack them. They get staggered. It's not a bad technique to stagger them. Oh, someone else is coming to be involved. Look at me just whack him with the sword. It's not a bad technique, though, to stagger an enemy, then retreat a little bit and shoot them, just for gaining proficiency. So that's what a glyph or they call it a cipher, the xenoglyph cipher. You want to collect those. Those aren't actually alien messages. Those are sort of text that helps you decipher the alien messages when you find them. So if you've got 10 and the area, yeah, if you found 10 of them, let's say, that will increase the accuracy of your translation. Most of my translations are sitting around 70%, and you get a pretty good gist of what's being said. But it's not the full message. When you have a low level analysis, it's just gibberish mostly. Big statue. I love the atmosphere in this game. It's beautifully rendered, and the world design, I think, is really interesting. The aliens themselves, I think, could be maybe a little bit more frightening, these big sentient guys, but perhaps the sentients aren't meant to be frightening. They do have devil horns, though. what am I gonna do now? I think I'm feeling pretty confident, and I'm kind of like thinking about going to the Crimson Wastes at this point. So I've teleported close by. I'm also quite close to the containment room, which we looked at earlier in this run, and I was like, stay away from that until you've got some upgrades going. So I'm gonna come here. I think I'm probably a little bit scared of the containment room because it has been the end of my run a few times. But if I remember correctly, I'm gonna look. I'm about to run in Crimson Way. This is the gateway to the second area, and when often I've found that when you start a new run, the Crimson Gateway will be one of the early things that actually comes up in your run. It's sometimes really funny actually what comes up early on. I was doing a run a few days ago, and the boss door came up literally in my third area that I discovered, which would be a rude awakening for a beginner player. So I've decided to not go straight into the Crimson Waste. I wanted to show you guys what the containment room is all about. Very brave of me. It's a good tactical decision, I think. Because I would save it to the end of your run before you're confident to go into the next area. That way, if you do survive it, you'll be in a situation where you can go heal, and then you can start your run. So, once you go in, the area locks down, you can't escape, and there'll be waves of enemies. So starting, you might see this now, and you're like, oh, this isn't too bad. Boom, more of them coming at you. A few different kinds as well, so you've got these sort of slimy tree dudes. Something's flanking me. Never a bad idea to... Yeah, I'm a bit too stationary, I would say. I need to move around a bit more. Probably thinking about getting some of that life, yeah. Taking them out, getting some currency. Ooh, oh, these ones really are some of my least favorites. I think it's probably interesting to see, well, I wonder if each player has a different view. But the big guys, I really don't find that much of a problem because you can stagger them pretty easily. These little guys can really get you cornered. Although, yeah, look at me just wail on that big guy. He just wailed on me, though. Okay, so I've decided kiting is a better strategy, and this is important. I think a lot of good players would really say the most important thing in this game is to not take damage. If you can increase your survivability and learn your enemy's moves, which each enemy really only has probably 2, maximum of 3 different moves, and you can really be successful, unlike me in this run. So I'm kiting them around, you really want to keep your distance from those flying things. If they get into charging distance, you're not going to have a good time. You could probably see there as well, just quickly, his head was highlighted at one point when I hit it. Now, if you can focus fire on that weak zone, you're just going to do more damage quickly. It's a good thing to do. I've seen online some people think that like this Hollow Seeker gun is really good. It sort of has a homing capability to it. The first time I got one, I was like, this thing is awesome. Because I'm not always very good at aiming. But the more I came across it at a lower level, there we go, some ether. This is why the containment area is really good. You get these goodies. Deal 30% damage to low health targets. I guess I'd rather it be high health targets, but helps you finish things off, which is good. So if you do the containment area, you're going to come across some new health. You're going to come across some good items generally as well. So it's good to keep that for the end, right before going to the next area. Checking out the minimap is really important, I get, for planning your run as well. Understanding how this particular randomized world has shaped up, what things you want to focus on. So before, going to this area, I might have decided to say, oh look, I've missed a couple blue triangle doors, side doors, and let's go see what's in them. Never a bad idea. But I've decided that's enough. I'm ready. Not gonna do the boss in this run. We have another video on our Happy Videos. Clocked is like the gaming channel of Happy Mag. So if you, I'll link in this article as well. But if you want to see how to beat Frike, we've got a video for that as well. So this is the second area. Every time you enter into the second area, you're going to get a randomized calibrator, which is going to help boost your proficiency. So you saw I just went from 2 or 3 to 5. And that will mean that all the new items or weapons that I find in this world are going to be higher level, which is really important for beating some of these enemies in the second world. The Crimson Wastes. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been Alistair for Clocked. Feel free to subscribe, and we'll hopefully be getting up another video for Biome 2 shortly. Cheers.